Imagine a parent standing in the middle of a playground. The air is filled with laughter and the occasional scrape of a shoe on the gravel. A child runs past, face lit with pure joy, only to stumble moments later. Most parents rush in instinctively, their hearts pounding, ready to scoop their child into safety. But then, something unexpected happens. The parent pauses, taking a breath, watching instead of reacting. They let the child get back on their feet, offer guidance without taking over. This moment, small and ordinary, holds within it a profound paradox. To nurture is not always to intervene. To protect is not always to shield. And yet, society often teaches us the opposite. We are told that love means guarding, that care means control. But what if the most effective way to raise resilient, independent, and emotionally intelligent children is by embracing contradiction? By becoming a paradoxical parent? It sounds counterintuitive. A paradoxical parent is someone who appears contradictory at first glance. They are loving yet firm. They give freedom but also set boundaries. They trust their children to make decisions, yet guide them quietly, without overt control. And the results can be astonishing. Children raised in this way often grow into adults who are confident, empathetic, and capable of navigating life's uncertainty. Let's explore what it truly means to be paradoxical. Imagine a dinner table at home. One child wants to argue about every little rule. They push back on bedtimes, on homework, on curfews. A conventional approach might be to enforce control, to dominate the conversation, to insist on compliance. But a paradoxical parent chooses a different path. They listen deeply, acknowledging the child's feelings. They might say, "I hear that you don't want to go to bed right now. Let's figure out a solution together." Instead of tightening their grip, the paradoxical parent loosens it just enough to invite responsibility. By involving the child in the discussion, they shift the dynamic from power struggle to problem solving. The child begins to realize that their voice matters, but so do the needs of the household. In this space, rules are no longer arbitrary commands, they become shared agreements. The child may still resist, but now that resistance turns into conversation rather than conflict. Paradoxically, this approach often leads to more cooperation, not less. When children feel respected rather than controlled, they are more willing to regulate themselves. A parent might say, "You can stay up a little longer tonight, but tell me how that will affect your morning tomorrow." The child starts to think ahead, to connect choices with consequences. Freedom is offered, but it is paired with reflection, not fear. Authority remains present, but it is calm and confident rather than loud or forceful. Over time, this way of parenting reshapes the emotional climate of the home. Children raised this way learn that disagreement is not dangerous and that boundaries can coexist with empathy. They grow more honest about their struggles because they are not bracing for punishment. The paradoxical parent still holds firm values and expectations, yet expresses them through curiosity and trust. In doing so, they quietly teach a deeper lesson. Real strength does not come from control, but from understanding and balance. Here lies the paradox. The parent maintains authority while allowing autonomy. The child feels seen and respected, yet still learns that boundaries exist. This balance is delicate. It is not permissiveness, nor is it rigidity. It is an art of parenting that embraces nuance. Now you might wonder, doesn't this approach risk children becoming spoiled or entitled? Some critics suggest that giving children choices, even within limits, could undermine discipline. But research and anecdotal evidence paint a more complex picture. Children who experience a measured degree of autonomy develop problem-solving skills, self-regulation, and confidence in their own judgment. The paradoxical parent, then, is not afraid of contradiction because they recognize that resilience often grows from challenges, not from constant protection. Consider another scene. A teenager comes home frustrated from school. They slam the door, mutter a few words, and retreat to their room. A typical reaction might be to demand an explanation, to insist on talking immediately. But the paradoxical parent knows that forcing a conversation can lead to resistance. Instead, they might respond with calm presence. "I'm here if you want to talk." They respect the teen's space while offering unwavering support. This approach requires patience. It is almost countercultural in a world obsessed with instant solutions and constant intervention. Yet paradoxical parenting thrives in these small, quiet moments. It teaches children that emotions are valid, that frustration is a natural part of life, and that relationships can endure tension without collapsing. Here's a truth that often surprises parents. Being paradoxical is not about doing less. It's about doing differently. It's about being present but not controlling. It's about encouraging independence while remaining the safety net. It's about allowing failure while celebrating effort. The paradox is that children flourish not because they are protected from life's difficulties, but because they are guided through them with wisdom, empathy, and patience. Think about how often we fear letting go. We worry about mistakes, about harm, about disappointment. Yet paradoxical parenting invites us to redefine what love looks like. Love is not always rescue. Love is sometimes restraint. Love is trust wrapped in guidance, firmness intertwined with flexibility. Let's examine how this plays out in everyday life. Picture a child learning to ride a bike. A traditional approach might involve holding the seat tightly, running alongside, ensuring balance at every moment.
The paradoxical parent, however, might hold the bike at first, then gradually release it, letting the child wobble, stumble, and eventually pedal on her own. The process may involve minor falls, minor frustration, but the child gains confidence, independence, and a sense of accomplishment. This mindset extends far beyond childhood milestones like riding a bike. In daily routines, paradoxical parenting shows up when parents resist the urge to solve every problem immediately. Instead of rushing to intervene when a child struggles with homework, friendships, or decision-making, the parent stays present, but steps back just enough. The child is allowed to wrestle with confusion, make imperfect choices, and experience the natural consequences of those choices, while knowing support is available if truly needed. Over time, this balance teaches problem-solving and emotional regulation far more effectively than constant guidance ever could. Emotionally, the paradoxical parent offers both safety and space. They provide warmth, reassurance, and clear values, yet they do not shield the child from every uncomfortable feeling. Disappointment, boredom, and even failure are treated as teachers rather than threats. When a child learns that these emotions are survivable, they develop resilience and self-trust. They begin to understand that confidence is not something handed down by adults, but something built through experience. As children grow older, this approach becomes even more powerful. Teenagers especially crave autonomy while still needing boundaries. The paradoxical parent enforces limits but allows freedom within them, creating an environment where trust replaces control. The child learns not just how to behave, but how to choose. In the long run, this quiet release of control doesn't weaken the parent-child bond. It strengthens it, shaping individuals who can stand on their own while still valuing connection.
This principle extends beyond physical skills. Academics, social interactions, even emotional resilience benefit from a paradoxical approach. When children are allowed to struggle within safe boundaries, they learn problem solving. They understand that mistakes are not catastrophes, but opportunities. They internalize confidence, not because someone fixed everything for them, but because they discovered their own capabilities. Psychologists often describe this as the optimal challenge. The paradoxical parent presents challenges that are neither too easy nor overwhelming. This creates an environment where children are motivated to grow, but not paralyzed by fear of failure. The paradox emerges in the balance between control and freedom. Too much control stifles creativity. Too much freedom can lead to insecurity. Mastering the interplay is what sets paradoxical parenting apart. Imagine a family road trip. Hours on the road can feel endless for both parents and children. A typical approach might involve strict rules: remain seated, no complaints, no delays. But a paradoxical parent might introduce structure while incorporating flexibility, allowing the kids to choose music, take breaks, or suggest detours. The result is not chaos, but a shared sense of agency and mutual respect. What's remarkable is how children respond to this balance.
They become more willing to follow rules, not because of fear, but because they feel their voice matters. They cooperate, not out of obligation, but out of understanding. The paradoxical parent fosters internal motivation rather than reliance on external enforcement. And here's something worth reflecting on. Paradoxical parenting requires self-awareness. Parents must confront their own impulses to control, to intervene, to rescue. It asks us to step back and observe our children as individuals, not extensions of ourselves. This can be uncomfortable. It challenges deep-seated beliefs about authority, protection, and love. Yet, the reward is profound. Children who grow with a sense of autonomy, responsibility, and resilience.
It also teaches parents valuable lessons. They learn patience, empathy, and the art of subtle guidance. They discover that their presence matters more than their control, and that listening can be more powerful than lecturing. Parenting, in this sense, becomes less about fixing problems and more about nurturing potential. Discipline is a common area where paradoxical parenting shines. Traditional models often emphasize punishment or reward. Paradoxical parenting, however, focuses on understanding, communication, and consequence-based learning. A child who breaks a rule might experience natural consequences rather than arbitrary punishment. They are guided to reflect on choices, consider impact, and make amends. This approach fosters accountability, not fear. Children learn that mistakes are part of life, that actions have consequences, and that adults are allies, not adversaries. It's a subtle shift in perspective, yet it transforms the parent-child dynamic. Discipline becomes a teaching moment, not a power struggle. There's a quiet beauty in this paradox. Picture a parent and child in a park, watching a kite struggle against the wind. The parent encourages the child, offering advice and reassurance, but allows the kite to soar on its own. The child feels exhilaration, accomplishment, and trust. The parent experiences pride, satisfaction, and sometimes anxiety, but they resist the urge to control every gust. This balance plays out in everyday moments that often go unnoticed. At home, the paradoxical parent sets boundaries yet leaves room for choice, correcting mistakes without crushing curiosity. When the child stumbles, emotionally or practically, the parent is present, steady, and observant, stepping in only when guidance is truly needed. In doing so, they teach a lesson more powerful than any instruction: that failure is not a catastrophe, but a companion to growth. The child begins to internalize resilience, learning not just how to make decisions, but how to recover when those decisions don't go as planned. Over time, this approach reshapes the relationship itself. The child no longer sees the parent merely as an authority, but as a safe harbor, someone who trusts them enough to let go while remaining close enough to catch them if they fall. The paradox deepens as independence grows alongside connection. The parent, too, evolves, learning that love is not proven through constant intervention, but through the courage to step back and believe in the strength they have helped nurture. This image, simple as it is, captures the essence of paradoxical parenting. Love and freedom coexist. Guidance and independence intertwine. Authority and trust dance in harmony. It is not always easy. Moments of doubt, fear, and uncertainty are inevitable, but the paradox lies in embracing those moments rather than avoiding them. Some might ask, can every parent truly adopt this approach? Life is messy, responsibilities are heavy, and children can be challenging. Yet even small shifts towards paradoxical thinking can make a difference. Pausing before reacting, listening before instructing, guiding without dominating, these moments accumulate. They shape relationships, foster growth, and leave lasting impressions on young minds. And here's the most surprising part. Paradoxical parenting is not about perfection. It is about presence. It is about intention, reflection, and adaptability. Children sense authenticity. They respond to consistency and care, even when approaches appear contradictory. The paradox is a space of trust, where both parent and child grow together. So imagine your own family. Think of the moments where control battles freedom, where protection clashes with independence.
Picture the opportunities to pause, observe, and choose differently. The paradoxical parent is not a distant ideal, but a practice of mindful engagement. Each conversation, each decision, each challenge becomes a chance to model resilience, empathy, and wisdom. Perhaps the greatest lesson of paradoxical parenting is this: love is not linear. It does not follow rigid rules or clear formulas. It thrives in tension, in balance, in moments of apparent contradiction. And in embracing the paradox, parents give children something that lasts far beyond childhood: confidence, self-awareness, and a lifelong understanding of how to navigate a complex world. As you leave this video, consider this: what if the greatest gift you could offer your child is not perfect protection, not unyielding control, but the courage to trust, the patience to guide, and the wisdom to embrace contradiction? In that space, children do not merely survive, they flourish. And parents, in turn, discover a deeper, more meaningful connection with their own humanity. If this perspective resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your experiences or reflections in the comments below. And if you found this story insightful, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more conversations about parenting, growth, and the small paradoxes that shape our lives. Because being a paradoxical parent is not a destination, it's a journey. And every journey is better when shared.